I am your host with the locks that rocks, and this is the official podcast of Rocklahoma Music Festival, Surviving Rocklahoma. I am joined by one of those amazing artists that we're going to be seeing Labor Day weekend. I am joined by Chris of Blackstone Cherry. What is up, buddy?
How you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I am so stoked. I have been wanting to see you all perform for years. And when I saw that on the lineup, I was just as giddy as a schoolgirl. I
That's
I
awesome,
understand.
man.
I understand you've got some things going, and you're on the road. What's going on with you these days?
Yeah, dude, we're literally riding on our way to Plano, Texas right now. We hit some traffic last night, so we're still en route. But no, man, we're out on the road doing shows. Getting geared up for the record to come out September 29th. So we just dropped a new fan video dropping today for a new song called "Smile World."
Wow.
A lot of exciting stuff, man. We got another music video coming in a couple of weeks, so it's busy times for Blackstone Cherry.
How long have you guys been on tour? Have you been touring this year or just this year or
Man,
what?
dude, off and on the whole year this year. I mean, basically since the pandemic started, we've been off and on touring again. But we've also been making a record part of that time, and we're just ready to get back out and tour consistently again.
Can you tell me a little bit? You mentioned the pandemic, and part of this album was conceived within that. Can you tell me a little bit about writing during being this locked up versus our normal day to day life as we knew it beforehand?
I think more than anything, the pandemic gave time, and time is amazing, and it can also go the other way at the same time, because and it gave you a lot of time to think, and that's not necessarily always a good thing. But what it did do was it allowed people to slow down for a minute and reflect and figure out what's really important, what's worth talking about, and what's not, shit like that. And man, for me, I think what it did was the pandemic has brought out the honesty in people. And I think, especially now more than ever, I feel like I can speak for almost all artists when I say we're all writing the most honest music we ever have. Because who the hell knows when it's all going to be taken away, from us again. So say it, don't try to say it fancy. Just fucking say it.
Absolutely. Now, in that pandemic, it was completely unprecedented. We've never experienced anything like that in our generations. Um, and as you mentioned, it kind of takes you a lot of different spaces than what you're used to once you're kind of locked up in that isolation. Uh, are we going to see any of that in this new album? Is it going to be compared to the previous albums?
I think the new album is the way forward, if that makes sense. It's got a different kind of vibe. I know that's such a broad term, but it does. From the second you put the record in, you put the CD in and start listening, there's an energy and a vibe about it that's just different, and I love it. We got a cutback of a music video last night, and we watched it probably four times in a row, just out of excitement. So we're man, we can't wait for people to get this record and experience it from start to finish, because this one really, really, really means a lot to us.
In some of your previous, you've had a wide range from some of the more aggressive, high energy rock and roll to some of your more soulful ballads. I know you've gone through some personal stuff, as we all have, and some of the folks I work with. they preach music as medicine. Can you tell
Mhm.
me, are we going to, what kind of, where on some of the places that you're going to go in some of these new tracks that you've got coming out?
I mean, it's definitely probably the heaviest record we've ever compiled. But at the same time, there's also some very beautiful songs on the record, you know. So it's the record covers a lot of emotion bases, but I think the best way to describe it is just an honest record. Like it tackles the subjects that it tackles in a direct head-on kind of manner. You know, it's a lot of adversity and a lot of overcoming things that you didn't particularly think you could maybe. Um, but it's a record of honesty, and I really hope people see that in it when they listen to it, and they feel the sincerity that is this record, because I really feel like it's the most honest we've ever been lyrically in our lives, you know. It, but it's also the world we've lived for the last several years, you know. There's no room for anything but honesty really anymore, in my opinion. The world would be a much better fucking place if it was that way.
Absolutely. Now, you come from lineage. You have these ties, and did any of that come into play as you were writing, as you're more confined with stuff and you're reaching out because, family's all we had for such a long time?
I mean, for me, I went through a spot. You know, I'm sure for John Fred that was the case. You know, with them that you're always thinking about family stuff. For me, I was really really close with my dad,
Mm-hmm.
and he passed in 2021, and that was that was something that poured a lot into these songs. You know, I look, at the end of the day, we're only going to write songs about the things we know and things we've experienced, you know. And I like to look at a record as a snapshot of when you finish recording the record before, the day you finish that one, you start a whole new chapter. And those are the things that you live through that lead up to the next record. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like an artist. They're if they're painting the things that they're life are going to affect the outcome of that painting, you know. And you take all those things you live through, and you reflect on them, and you cherish them, even the bad ones, you know, because there's something to learn from them, and that shit turns into songs for me. You know, it's hard to explain really, you know, but it's, I guess for me it's always been easier to talk through song than it has to talk this way, you know.
I totally feel what you're saying, and that's it's one of the my favorite things about listening to different artists and meeting different artists such as yourself to see how that kind of emotion fuels them, and as they translate it into their art form and put that out there for people to connect with. And on a personal note, I just want to thank you for doing what you do, and
Thanks,
things my
man.
father said to me, or things my father said, excuse me, was there for me during a very challenging time as my own father went through two bouts with cancer the last couple of years. Thankfully, we're still here, but
Yes,
it
sir.
was just it was there, and that's what music is for so many folks. And speaking of these folks, we've coming up in a couple of weeks. We're at Rocklahoma, and we're just this type of people that we love to come out of our shells and we love to celebrate music and art and stuff. Can you tell me a little bit about you as you are bearing your soul on stage, especially to these large, huge festivals and stuff? I think I lost you a little bit. Are you still there with
Ah,
me? Let's hit pause
When
one
good.
second.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're driving.
Yeah, yeah, no, you're good.
And we can pick up. Where did you catch me on that?
Yeah, you were asking about, what's it like bearing your solo on stage in front of big crowds like that and stuff.
There you go.
It. I don't know how to do anything else really. The only other physical labor, and this shit ain't much fun. Um, what I do for a living is, and with every video, try my best to deliver these songs and the message from these songs. And what you're getting when we're up there is 100% us. It's we don't use any kind of backing track. We don't do any of that stuff. It's the four of us up there on stage playing the songs. So what you get, I go back to that word again, is a true, honest rock and roll show from start to finish. If I
Hmm.
fuck up and own it, man. I'll tell you I did. But I would much rather do that, than not be doing it.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, man. And you are going to be joined by some amazing acts. I mean, Pantera's back together, for crying out loud. We got
Yeah, man.
Godsmack and Rob Zombie, the Mongolian metal band The Who. Do you still get, whenever you're backstage and you're meeting some of these other bands, do you ever have to like pinch yourself moments, or like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be hanging out with these guys?
Man, for sure. But normally I try to play it cool, but normally it's like back when we get back to the bus, we're like, oh my God, that was fucking whoever, that was so and so. And we're like, holy shit, that just happened. But in the moment, you're trying your best to play it cool and not come off like, exactly.
I totally know that feeling, and it gets so difficult sometimes. But that's what I always like to convey to everybody, since I've been able to start doing this program, is these people they're just people. They put things out in a different way. I mean, and that's how they
Yeah.
express each other. I've got, I know you're on the road and you've got a full schedule. I've got some questions, if you wouldn't mind, that I posed to our Facebook audience. And there's a couple of
Yeah.
folks, if you got a couple of questions, you can pass or you can take them up. One of them is, I'm sure you get this one
Yep.
a lot. Vernon Campbell asked, what inspired you to become a musician?
My dad. Seeing my dad, my earliest memories are seeing my dad play in dance halls and stuff all over South Central Kentucky. Man, he was one of the best guitar players around. I wanted to be my daddy my whole life, man.
That's awesome. Um, Brett Mason asks, what was the inspiration behind White Trash Millionaire? And if you can, who was it?
It was actually a car that I had at the time. No shit. We were writing a song with a dude, and I showed up to the practice house. And at the time, it was kind of chilly outside, and I was wearing just like a work jacket, that was kind of the thing in the '90s. And I still had, a couple. I still got a couple. It's like a blue work jacket, with some patches on it. And I had a beanie, and the car I had was a 1981 Trans Am, and it was half primer, half black, where it had some extensive hail damage. And I bought it trying to fix it up. And John Fred said, dude, you look like a damn drug dealer pulling up to Craig's house today. And we all laughed. And somebody said, more like a white trash millionaire. And we were like, oh my God. We were like, what are we going to write the song about? And I said, well, hell, I got a Trans Am with primer paint. And that was literally the first line of the song. So it was a car that I drove to practice that started a joke, and there it is. But I literally drove a Trans Am in primer paint for a good while.
that is that's awesome. That is so southern. It's you're at home here in Oklahoma. The
You
final
can't wash it
one.
off of me.
Well, we jump in the river, we scrub, but it just doesn't. I get a little darker. That's about it.
Look here, muddy water just sinks in. That's all it does.
It is, and especially that red dirt around here. I've got the final question comes from Christian Hopkins of Rockavet. What is your favorite lyric in any song, whether it be your own or bands of any genre? Is there just something that sticks with you?
Man, I'm gonna go with Two They've Gone and literally just say the entire song. It is my favorite song of all time. And yeah, that's the one that want them to carry me out to, man. That's my favorite song of all time. Always has been, always will be.
I love it. I appreciate you so much for taking those questions from our viewers, and
Yes, sir.
I like to wrap up every interview before I let you go or before we lose signal. I always like to give an artist the opportunity to directly address their audience, the people who's going to be viewing you Friday at Rocklahoma. It's going to be hot. It's going to be sunny. We're in the field middle of nowhere. Chris,
We're
the
all
stage
about
is
it.
yours.
Hey, look, from the bottom of our hearts, man. When we started this thing in 2001, we could have never dreamed that in 2023 we'd still be here rocking and rolling, man. Thank you guys for years and years of support. We hope to see you out there in the field hanging out with us for a great kick-ass rock and roll show. God bless you. Stay safe. Hydrate yourselves. Don't get too hot.
Absolutely. Once again, that's Chris from Blackstone Cherry. We'll be seeing them at Rocklahoma Friday. They're going to be playing at 3:45 in the p.m. Make sure you get that sunscreen, get those big old hats, and get ready to rock out. They're going to be bringing we're getting a little bit heavier these days with the
Oh yeah.
Blackstone Cherry. And watch out for their newest single, Smile World.
Yes,
And
sir.
we'll be bringing that and a whole lot more and our coverage from Rocklahoma 2023. Stay tuned right here on Surviving Rocklahoma.